In the Upanishads, it is said that the various energies of the Lord are working to create, destroy, and maintain. These inconceivable varieties of energy are stored in the bosom of the Lord. As people generally say, God is all powerful. That prowess is represented by Mahalakshmi, the reservoir of all energies, who is situated on the bosom of the transcendental form of the Lord. The yogi who can meditate perfectly on that spot, on the transcendental form of the Lord, can derive many material powers which comprise the 8 perfections of the yoga system. It is stated herein that the beauty of the neck of the Lord enhances the beauty of the Kaustuba gem, rather than vice versa. The gem itself becomes more beautiful because it is situated on the neck of the Lord. A yogi is therefore recommended to meditate upon the Lord's neck. The Lord's transcendental form can either be meditated upon in the mind or placed in a temple in the form of a statue and decorated in such a way that everyone can contemplate it. Temple worship, therefore, is meant for persons who are not so advanced that they can meditate upon the form of the Lord. There is no difference between constantly visiting the temple and directly seeing the transcendental form of the Lord. There is no difference between constantly visiting the temple and directly seeing the transcendental form of the Lord. They are of equal value. The advantageous position of the yogi is that he can sit anywhere in a solitary place and meditate upon the form of the Lord. A less advanced person, however, has to go to the temple, and as long as he does not go to the temple, he is unable to see the form of the Lord. Either by hearing, seeing, or meditating, the objective is the transcendental form of the Lord. There is no question of voidness or impersonalism. The Lord can bestow the blessings of transcendental pleasure upon either the visitor of the temple, the meditator yogi, or one who hears about the Lord's transcendental form from scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. There are 9 processes of executing devotional service, of which smaranam or meditation is one. Yogis take advantage of the process of smaranam, whereas bhakti yogis take special advantage of the process of hearing and chanting. All departments of law and order emanate from the arms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The law and order of the universe is directed by different demigods, and it is here said to emanate from the Lord's arms. Mandara hill is mentioned here because when the ocean was churned by the demons on one side and the demigods on the other, Mandara hill was taken as the churning rod. The Lord in his tortoise incarnation became the pivot for the churning rod, and thus his ornaments were polished by the turning of Mandara hill. In other words, the ornaments of the arms of the Lord are as brilliant and lustrous as if they had been polished very recently. The wheel in the hand of the Lord, called the Sudarshana Chakra, has 1,000 spokes. The yogi is advised to meditate upon each of the spokes. He should meditate upon each and every one of the component parts of the transcendental form of the Lord. And in today's verse, Kapila is describing about the shoulders and the Sudarshana Chakra and the Shankha held by the Lord. Bahumscha mandhara gire parivarthanena nirnikta bahuvalayan adhiloka palan. Bahum his shoulders, and which are the Adhiloka Palan, which are the source of the power in the universe for the devatas to control the various aspects of the universe. And the Bahuvalayan, and these shoulders which are adorned with special ornaments, and these ornaments are nirniktha, they are polished and they are brilliant. And how are they polished? Mandara gire parivarthanena, by the churning of the Mandara mountain, these ornaments were polished. And Prabhupada has explained that how in the Mandara, the churning of the ocean, in that pastime, the Lord took the form of a tortoise and his ornaments got polished. Sometimes it is also described that the Lord wanted to scratch his back and he had the mountain churning on his back, and that satisfied him. So many things happen, scratching his back, polishing his ornaments. Nirnikta bahuvalayan mandhara gire parivarthanena, by the churning. And sanchintayet, the yogi should meditate, should concentrate on, should be absorbed in Dasha Shataram Asahya Tejaha. Dasha Shataram, referring to the Sudarshana Chakra with 1,000 spokes, which is Asahya Tejaha, which has a unbearable, Asahya means unbearable brilliance, blinding, Asahya Tejaha. Shankam cha, and also on the conch shell, Tat Karasaroruha Rajahamsam, and his beautiful hands holding the Shankha and the Chakra, and the beautiful hands which look like a Rajahamsa, like a very beautiful swan. And so on these transcendental components of the Lord's form, the yogi should meditate upon. The yogi should further meditate upon sanchintayet, upon the Lord's forearms, bahumscha, which are the source of all powers of the demigods who control the various functions of the material nature, adhiloka palan. Then the yogi should concentrate, sanchintayet, on the polished ornaments, nirnikta bahuvalayan, which were burnished by the Mount Mandara as it revolved. Mandara gire parivarthanena. He should also duly contemplate, sanchintayet, the Lord's discus, the Sudarshana Chakra, which contains 1,000 spokes, Dashashataram, and a dazzling luster, Asahya Tejaha, as well as the conch, Shankam, which looks like a swan, Rajahamsam, in his lotus-like palm, Tat Karasaroruha Rajahamsam. So, once again, very beautiful, attractive description of the Lord's upper part of the body, his arms and the different, his shoulders and the arms holding all of these Sudarshana Chakra and the conch shell. And the yogi is asked to sanchintayet, meditate upon, concentrate on. Once Srila Prabhupada was in San Francisco, very early days, and so devotees arranged a radio show for him. He wanted to preach. So Prabhupada went to this radio show, and then generally in these kind of radio shows, they would ask, Prabhupada would not be very happy. He wanted to discuss philosophy, give his message of Krishna consciousness. most of these interviewers would ask very basic questions. Why have you painted your forehead? What does that mean? And why do you shave your head? Why do you have a small bit of hair on the back of your head? These kind of questions. And Prabhupada would not be happy. So he wanted to discuss philosophy. So the young devotees knew that. So they all planned. It was a short interview and then a call-in questions. Listeners could call in. So devotees all made up, they had planned out, and they would ask different questions. And so after the little bit of an introduction, and then the interviewer said, so now we can expect some questions from any callers are there. And then bang, one of the devotees called in and asked a question. What is the purpose of life, Swamiji? And so Prabhupada didn't know this. His followers were asking. So it's a very good question. And Prabhupada was very happy. Unlike, the tilak and those kind of shika questions. So Prabhupada was very happy and then he answered that. And then after about 5 minutes or 8 minutes of answering that, there was another call. And then the interviewer said, there's one more question. And then the caller asked, why are we here on this earth planet? Oh, good question. And Prabhupada was very happy to answer that question also. And then after that, the third question came. What is the meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra? By then the interviewer figured out, I think all your followers are asking these questions. I want somebody other than people from your organization to ask the question. So then the devotees backed out and they didn't ask. And then some other woman asked a question and it went on. So, very interestingly, these devotees, young disciples, knew what Prabhupada wanted to say, and then they asked the right kind of questions, and Prabhupada was happy to answer them. So, very similar to that, we see Krishna describing the dhyana yoga, this kind of a meditation process in Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter, and Arjuna comes up with a very appropriate question for Krishna, and he says, Arjuna uvacha yo ayam yogas tvaya proktaha samyena madhusudhana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat stithim sthiram. Krishna, you are telling that the mind should be controlled and the mind should be fixed and it should be focused and all these things, but the mind is so chanchalatvat, is so flickering. Etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat stithim sthiram. I don't think this is possible for me to do that. And Krishna was very happy to hear that. Yes, this process of dhyana is not recommended for this age. And then he goes on to teach the process of bhakti yoga. And that is how the 6th chapter ends with the question that yes, this yoga may be there. Yoginam api sarvesham madgater antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. Of course, Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord. And all the questions that Arjuna was asking was to steer Krishna to tell what he wanted to say. And so it was under the Yoga Maya's potency. Arjuna became bewildered about his duty, felt attached to all of his family members, apparently looked like he had forgotten Krishna's true position, and Krishna wanted this battle to happen, and then he asked all those different questions. And so in the same way, in this chapter also, in the 6th chapter, when Krishna is describing the dhyana yoga process, he asked the very right question that my mind is so flickering and so uncontrolled and it is so powerful. I don't think I'll be able to follow this yoga process. What is it that we should do? And then Krishna goes on to explain that. Yes, this is also a yoga process, but then there are even higher yoga process. And then Krishna has explained, Yoginam api sarvesham Madgatena antaratmana. Antaratmana, in his heart. Madgatena means to be always thinking of him in the core of his heart. Madgatena antaratmana. To be absorbed in Krishna in the core of his heart. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam. And with great transcendental faith, shraddhavan bhajate, one who is serving. Yomam same yuktatamo mataha. He is most yuktatama. Yukta means engaged. Yuktatama means properly engaged. Yuktatara means properly engaged. Yuktatama means most properly, rightly engaged. He is rightly situated. Yuktatamo mataha. And that is why this is considered the highest yoga. So, two things Krishna has mentioned. Madgatena antaratma. Antaratmana madgatena. To be always thinking of him. Madgatena, thinking of me. And Shraddhavan bhajate. And one who is serving him with great transcendental faith. So, Prabhupada points this out. There is actually a very confidential meaning behind these things. Which means to be always thinking of Krishna in the core of one's heart and rendering loving service to him with Shraddhavan, with faith. And Srila Prabhupada points out, if we have to fix our mind on someone, like say if we have to fix our mind on something, because mind is chanchalatvat sthithim sthiram, it is very, very difficult, it is running here and there. How can we ever fix the mind on someone? To fix the mind on somebody, a prerequisite is love. Just like Prabhupada gives these examples. When a young boy meets a young girl and some kind of a chemistry happens between them, we hear about, and the boy falls in love with the girl and the girl falls in love with the boy, and after that the boy is always thinking of her and the girl will always be thinking of the boy. Isn't it? This is a natural thing that we have seen. No other circumstance when a mind can become fixed on something, only when it is driven by the power of love. Same way, when a mother is in love because the mother loves the child, and the mother has dressed up the child and sent the child to the school, and there are so many toys and other things lying in the house. When the child is gone away, when the mother sees any of those, immediately it reminds the mother of the child. She doesn't see those toys, but she sees the child in those toys. That's the common thing that we know about, we have experienced. So, this is so unless there is love, there is no question of mind being attached to that. So this is actually a very important revelation. Many Bhagavad Gita scholars, or practically most Bhagavad Gita scholars, miss this important point which Srila Prabhupada points out, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out. Actually, when Krishna is, even in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, in another place, Arjuna mentions that Sauhardena Atighadena, Krishna spoke to me this Bhagavad Gita in a state of great intimacy. Krishna uses these words, Ishtosi me drudhamiti tatho vakshyami te hitam. Ishtosi me drudham. Drudham ishta means, because you are very dear to me, I will share this knowledge with you. Somebody, Lord Krishna, he is the Supreme Lord, and somebody very dear to him. So, only to such a someone who is very dear, he will share the most, things which will not be shared with anybody. So, it is actually the very, very confidential information that Krishna has shared, and that is that we have to fix our mind on him, and that can happen only when there is love. In other words, Krishna is saying, develop your love for me. And many people miss this out. And our acharyas describe, Prabhupada also points out, in the 6th, usually Arjuna is asking questions and Krishna is answering. Now this question that Arjuna has asked, and Krishna has brought this topic, Mat gatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. Now Krishna is feeling so merciful to the living entities, and he wants to tell more. And so in the 7th chapter, first in the entire, Krishna wants to explain more and more about him, and so there is no Arjuna asking any question. Shri Bhagavan uvacha maya sakta mana partha yogam yunjan madashraya. Krishna goes on to explain in the 7th chapter, and the entire chapter Arjuna doesn't ask a question. Krishna is so happy to give this information. And he ended with that, 6th chapter ends with Yoginam api sarvesham mat gater antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. And in the 7th chapter, Krishna begins, Maya sakta mana partha. Manaha, mai asakta manaha. Mind attached to me. So, mind attached to Krishna, mind always thinking of Krishna, mind always absorbed in Krishna. Like this verse, Sanchintayet. The yogi is being asked to concentrate on the various transcendental form of the Lord. None of these things are possible without love. It is not possible to be attached in the mind. Mind is the vehicle for attachment. And so Krishna is explaining, Maya sakta mana partha yogam yunjan madashrayaha. Mai asakta manaha, mai ashrayaha, madashrayaha. Under my shelter and your mind attached to me, this yoga has to be practiced. Yogam yunjan madashrayaha. This is the right way to practice yoga. Unfortunately, in modern society, yoga is considered simply as some kind of a physical exercises and breathing exercises. That's not the entirety of yoga. Ultimate yoga, or the highest yoga, is to become attached to Krishna and to take shelter of Krishna. And it's very interesting how Srila Prabhupada explains all these different points in the purport. Maya sakta mana partha yogam yunjan madashrayaha asamshayam samagram mam yatha agnasyasi tachrunu. When you practice yoga like this, with your mind attached to me and under my shelter, what happens? Asamshayam samagram mam yatha agnasyasi. By which you will understand me, asamshayam, without any doubt, samagram, in my entirety. You will completely understand me without any doubt. Tat shrunu. And so now I'm going to tell about this. Please hear me. Now hear, tat shrunu, O son of Prutha Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Asamshayam samagram mam yatha agnasyasi tat shrunu. Hearing, you hear tat shrunu, and when you hear me, what will be the result of that? asamshayam samagram mam yatha gnasyasi. Gnasyasi, asamshayam samagram gnasyasi. You will know me completely without a doubt. So, taking this, Prabhupada explains in the purport, this is how the process of bhakti develops. It begins with Shrunu, Tat Shrunu. And Prabhupada quotes these series of verses from the Bhagavatam 2nd canto. Shrunvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha hrudayantastohya bhadrani vidhunoti suhrutsatam. It begins with Shrunvatam swakatha Krishna. Hearing about Krishna Katha, that is the beginning of the development of bhakti. And then how does it progress? Nashta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat yuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki tada rajastamo bhavaha kamalo bhadayaschaye cheta etairanaviddham sthitam sattve prasidati evam prasanna manaso bhagavat bhakti yogatah bhagavat tattva vignanam mukta sangasya jayate bhidyate hrudaya grantis chidyante sarva samshayaha. Chidyante sarva samshayaha, free from all doubts. It begins with Shrunvatam Swakatha Krishna. You will come to a stage where chidyante sarva samshayaha kshiyante chasya karmani drishta eva atmanishvare. And that's why in the purport, when Prabhupada is translating these series of verses, he says, thus Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asamshayam samagram, understanding of the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead. You see the link? How Srila Prabhupada is explaining the original words of the Bhagavad Gita. It begins with Tachrunu and it ends with asamshayam samagram, understanding, free from doubt and complete understanding of the absolute truth. Asamshayam samagram, understanding of the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead. And how does it all begin? Tachrunu, Shrunvatam. It is by hearing, not by any mental speculation. One has to hear from Krishna, or one has to hear from a representative of Krishna. This is the process. Therefore, Prabhupada concludes the purport in the Gita, therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the signs of Krishna. So, like this, the real import of all of this is that we have to develop love for Krishna. Otherwise, it is not possible for the mind to concentrate on the Lord, to be absorbed in the Lord. And here another important thing is asamshayam. Here in the previous verse, yoginam api sarvesham madgater antaratmana shraddhavan, with transcendental faith. Now, in the 9th chapter, Prabhupada explains that there are 18 chapters in the Gita. The first 6 chapters describe the constitution of the soul, constitution of the body, the material, some aspects of the material nature, and all of that, and different yoga processes, and ends with 6th chapter ending, yoginam api sarvesham madgater antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. And the middle 6th chapter, 7th to 12th chapter, is all about bhakti, beginning with maya sakta mano partha, and up to the 12th chapter ends with that the process of bhakti, how one can become very, very dear to Krishna. And 13th chapter onwards, there is more philosophical description about material nature, knowledge, modes of material nature, and all of those things up to the 18th chapter. So the middle 6 chapters are all about bhakti, and it is guarded between the first 6 and the last 6 chapters. And in the 9th chapter, Krishna talks about, again, it's part of the middle 6, and so, Ashraddhadhana Purusha. In the very beginning of the 9th chapter, Krishna is setting out what is the criteria for understanding this. Ashraddhadhana Purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani mam aprapya. One will not achieve if one does not have this Shraddha. Actually, when you see that Krishna is ultimately saying that we have to love him, but this is a very confidential thing. You cannot go and tell that to everybody. So only in an intimacy of love with his devotee, he can share this information. You can't just go in the street and tell somebody, please come and love me. They'll think, what's wrong with you? Right? You cannot tell that so freely. So Krishna is very concerned. There are all kinds of conditioned souls who have no interest in Krishna. How can Krishna reveal this? Only to those. That is why Krishna says, those who are not austere, those who have no interest in hearing about me, those who are not devoted to me, those who are envious of me, don't share this knowledge. This knowledge cannot be shared with them. So, Shraddha is actually, Shraddha is an intrinsic aspect of love. When two people are in love, naturally there is Shraddha. So, it is not that Shraddha is generally in modern understanding, Shraddha is considered to be an antithesis to knowledge, reason, logic, enlightenment, and such things. It is considered to be some kind of a sentimental, emotional reaction. But that is not true. Shraddha, Srila Prabhupada explains that you cannot do anything without Shraddha in this world. And the famous example Prabhupada gave is that you have your hard-earned money and go and you buy an airline ticket to go to a foreign country. You give all your hard-earned money and the man gives you a piece of paper in return. You may say that I gave you hard-earned money, 1 lakh rupees, and you're giving me a small piece of paper. The man will say, no, you please have faith in this piece of paper. You see, there is one date written in that paper. You go to the airport with this piece of paper. This piece of paper will take you to foreign country. You must have faith. If you say, no, how do I know that one? This is going to take me. I cannot wait. Now do something about it. He says, I cannot do anything. Please take this piece of paper and go. So we need to have faith. Faith is a very common thing that is essential for conducting any normal life. So it is wrong to think that Shraddha, and we see that in the context of developing love, how Shraddha is a very important aspect. And Srila Prabhupada would many times, in a very appealing voice, he would say, please believe in the words of Krishna. Sometimes Prabhupada would say, don't believe me, but believe in the words of Krishna. Believe in the words of Krishna. He is saying, he is the supreme controller. Surrender to me. Believe in his words. So that Shraddha, actually more and more Shraddha we develop, that's an indication of higher and higher stages of bhakti. Praudha Shraddha. It begins with Komala Shraddha or very tender Shraddha. And when one advances in Krishna consciousness, one comes to a stage known as Praudha Shraddha, means very mature faith in the understanding of Krishna. So like this, the process of bhakti is the highest, and that is how even this dhyana is a gradual and an indirect way of coming to that stage by the yogi trying to fix his mind on the different transcendental form of the Lord And the process of Krishna consciousness is to hear about Krishna from a pure devotee. And once you hear, then hearing is all part of the bhajana kriya. Right? Adhau shraddha tata sadhu sangha atha bhajana kriya. It begins with sadhu sangha. What do the sadhus do? Sadhus talk about Krishna. So Shravanam begins there. And then it continues, and bhajana kriya is to perform serious devotional service. There is one very interesting explanation Prabhupada gives. Sadhu sangha should be such that when somebody associates with a sadhu, the true test of the sadhu sangha interaction has happened. The result is, in that person, there should be an anxiety developed that yes, I must practice spiritual life. That's the real kind of a sadhu sangha. We are supposed to be sadhus and we are supposed to be giving sangha to people, right? The real test is that when there is sadhu sangha, the person receiving and experiencing the sadhu sangha, it should result in anxiety that yes, this is so wonderful, Krishna consciousness. I must practice this seriously. And then Prabhupada explains that anxiety to practice spiritual life is called initiation. That's the wonderful definition that Prabhupada gave, that is initiation. And we see how Srila Prabhupada created that anxiety, and he's continuing to create. By reading his books, we become so inspired by his sangha that we become more and more anxious, and that's how Srila Prabhupada is continuously initiating us in transcendental knowledge. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.